Jane Grace and James Bowman from the group are in studio with us here on the Kevin and Bean Show right now, playing a sold-out show at the Troubadour. What's it like to hear your song on the radio, you guys? Is it still fun after all this time?
It is, of course, yeah.
You produced yourself this time, which I thought was interesting, and I'm always curious about this because a lot of us people on the outside who are just music fans, we don't know much about what the producer does. But you worked with Butch Vig, who's one of the all-time greats for the last couple of albums. Do you learn enough from him just being in the studio with him for 2 albums that now you don't need him anymore and you can do it yourself, or is there some other reason why you produce yourself this time around?
Well, I definitely, saw the opportunity to work with Butch saw it as a real opportunity to learn something working with Butch and Billy, the engineer who we worked with, and did my best to sit in the back of the room and pay attention to every knob being turned and everything being done, and learned an incredible amount during that period of time. But going into this record, there was a desire to try and test out what we'd learn on our own, but then there was also kind of a little bit of self-preservation of knowing that, okay, we weren't going to work with the same team of people that we'd been comfortable with and worked with for the past 2 records, and I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to be talking about on this record, so I don't want to go into some studio and be surrounded by a bunch of strangers and be working this out both personally and as an artist while some dude is staring at me,
It's sort of weird, though, because you said you sort of got to know them for the last couple of albums, and yet they would be strangers?
No, with Butch and Billy?
Yeah.
No, it's just we didn't have the opportunity to do this next record, although Billy did mix the record.
I gotcha.
But yeah.
It seems like now would be, am I wrong about this, Laura, a pretty happy time in your life right now?
It's, it's life. Life moves on. I don't know. It's a good period of time, sure. Yeah.
And that is certainly borne out by the titles of the songs on the new record. Not just F My Life, but Dead Friend, Two Coffins, Black Me Out, Paralytic States. There's no shiny happy people, is all I'm saying.
Well, just because, I've embraced transition and come out and everything like that doesn't mean I'm not also manic depressive,
All right.
I see. How's it going at home, by the way? You have a wife and child. How's that been with your transition? And please just let me know if I get too personal by asking you that, but I think a lot of people listening are probably curious what that must be like, how that changes the family dynamic.
Well, you kind of answered it with it's a transition, your relationship changes, just like any relationship does, and you kind of figure out what that means and figure out as you're going too,
Right, but most relationships change, like I'm growing a mustache or I'm going to the gym now. They don't change, I'm going to be a woman. You know what I mean? That's a lot of change to put onto a relationship, and I'm sure that there are some wives who that would be a deal breaker. They'd be out.
Right. No, for sure. I don't know. I mean, it kind of is what it is, and you kind of have to stop thinking about the long term and kind of take it day by day. For me, a lot more of my fears lie in the parenting aspect of it and how that'll continue to change, just because as my daughter gets older and everything, and
How old is she?
She's 4.
4 years old.
And just the way that'll affect things with her, and her friends and just going to school, stuff like that. It's scary, I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert on it necessarily.
Still just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, as my psychotherapist likes to say, just because you're diagnosed with cancer doesn't mean you suddenly become an expert on cancer.
Yeah,
so,
right. I feel like, though, because you're such a high-profile person, especially in the world, the circles that we run in of people who love rock music, I feel like people look at you as he or she must know all the answers. You know what I mean? Must know all the answers. You know what I mean? At every step of the way, they feel like you're a person that they can go to help understand it. And I think it's interesting to hear that you're kind of just still figuring it out too.
For sure, I very much do not have all the answers. I'm a wreck.
So. It's kind of refreshing to hear somebody actually admit that.
Right. Against Me has always been an important part of your life. It's always been a great outlet. And I would imagine now, it must be so incredibly cathartic for you to be able to write these songs, record these songs, and then like tonight at the Troub and, in 2014 to be able to go out and play these songs. I imagine that's part of the process too.
For sure. But at the same time, as James said earlier, like I've always written about dealing with gender dysphoria in Against Me songs. Just a lot of the times people haven't noticed in the past, or I mean, and some of it hasn't really even been that veiled in metaphor. Like on our record New Wave, the last song had the lyric, "If I could have chosen, I would have been born a woman. My mother once told me she would have named me Laura." I mean, that's not like really hiding anything.
Yeah, I don't understand that exactly. It seems
It's too subtle,
very
man.
vague.
Too hidden. All right. Before we let you go, you're sold out tonight at the Troubadour, but then once the record comes out in January, I assume you'll be swinging back through Southern California. Against Me fans will have a chance probably to see you at a bigger venue down the road, I imagine?
Hopefully so, yes. We definitely plan on doing a bunch of touring.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on the success of the single. We're looking forward to the album. Again, it's coming out on January 21st called Transgender Dysphoria Blues. Very nice to meet you guys. We wish you the best.
Thank you so much.